Everybody, Dave here with another episode of the Property Profits Real Estate Podcast. And if you're in the multifamily space and you've done some small deals, maybe you've done some duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, maybe you've worked up into larger deals, larger buildings, 16 units, 24 units, maybe even 40 units, and you're looking to scale, then today's guest is someone you're definitely going to want to listen very, very carefully to, because that's exactly what he's done very recently. So our guest today is Lee Yoder, and Lee is a very, very successful real estate entrepreneur. He's got just under 300 units in his portfolio and growing rapidly, especially now that he's getting into much bigger deals. He's got a fantastic podcast that I've had the pleasure of being a guest on. He's been interviewed by some of the big guys, including good old Joe Fairless and Michael Blanc. So he's been featured on some of the biggest podcasts in the space. So Lee, welcome to the show.
Yeah, Dave, very kind introduction. Thank you. I'm excited to be here again.
All right, my friend. So last time we talked, because I've had the pleasure of having you on the show before, and I highly recommend you check out Lee's previous episode, because that'll show you where he was at and where he's at now. Now you're getting into even bigger deals. So let's take a deep dive into that, if you don't mind, and compare and contrast what it was like doing smaller apartment building deals and what it's like doing these much bigger deals. And if there's I'm assuming there's a big benefit to it, but we'll see what the pros and the cons are to it for moving up in the space, shall we?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely, Dave. I love to talk about that. It's something we've wanted to progress that way. I mean, my first multifamily was a duplex. The next one was a 16 unit, and then we did a few small ones, and then kind of jumped up to a 45 unit and did a 47. And then we went to a 96 and a 95. So I've kind of seen, hopefully we'll do a 500 unit one day. And then I can kind of say I've done the whole gamut or whatever, but there's a lot of benefits, Dave. And so I'd love to get into that. There are some negatives. I think the biggest one is like the competition and the price. So we can kind of get into that a little bit, but after we owned, the 45 unit was actually a 29 unit and 28 units. So that was like even kind of smaller multifamily. The 47 unit was 47, one building, one property. So that was like, man, this is going to be great. And we saw some benefits of that. I mean, namely, people will talk about like, you have one vacancy and it's not a big deal on a 47 unit like it is in a duplex where you go to 50% vacant. So there's some benefits there. I mean, often, the maintenance guy might come out and maybe he can hit a couple units at a time and things like that, but it's not big enough to support on-site staff. And so that was the first thing we saw when we got the 96 unit. It had an office on site. We kept the office and we put somebody on site. Well, actually two people. So that property is big enough to have a full-time leasing agent and a full-time maintenance guy. And so, not only so many benefits there, like you have people that are efficient. They're there. Like you're not sending somebody out. I mean, we were working for a property management company that kind of has the smaller multifamily model where it's an 8% fee. And then they charge the first month's rent, but then they're charging you every time they send somebody out to the property. Right. So we stayed with this property management company on the 96, but now they don't have to charge us sending somebody out because the people are there. It's also good for showing. Like we have somebody there all the time. It's not our property management, one, charging us, but two, hey, we can't have somebody just going out there at all times. So we've got to block out times that we're going to be able to show your property. Now with a leasing agent on site, I mean, yeah, they can't be there all day, every day and on the weekends, but they're there all, 40 hours a week. And so people can come, at any time and they're there and they can do that. They can also be there to when materials show up. And if we have outside contractors that need to get into a unit to turn it, we've always got people there. So the efficiency of it's less cost, but I would say the biggest thing, Dave, is like those people, they own that property, especially in our opinion, like the leasing it. Well, sometimes the maintenance guy too, but like the girls that we've had in the leasing office, it's like their baby. They take so much pride in it. They're all in on it. They want it to do well. They want it to stay full. They get to know the residents. The one maintenance guy we had, everybody called him the mayor of Waynedale because all these properties are on Waynedale. And he knew everybody. Everybody liked him. He's the guy that's coming out and fixing your stuff. And he's your guy. So we just saw so many benefits of that.
Well, let me ask you a question about that, if you don't mind, Lee. So in your opinion, how many units do you need to have in a deal for it to make sense to have these on-site staff? Where does that kind of come in?
Yeah, I would say people wise, Dave, 80, it might even do it. Like that's enough people for one or two people to manage. But you got to think about, can your budget handle it? And that is going to be, location specific, right? So for us in the Midwest, where, a 2-bed unit might rent, between 900 and 1,200 or something like that, 100 units is probably where you want to be, or close to it. We're 95, 96. So we're right there. But frankly, Dave, like, our leasing girl, she could handle probably up to 150. So we'd be even better if we had 130, 140 units, because they, then we're spreading her salary out over even more units. But 100's okay. I think if you're, in a hot city, out on the coast, where a 2-bed unit might rent for $2,000, well, then it takes a lot less units to pay somebody's salary. And that person will probably demand a little bit higher salary, but I mean, not that much. Like where, we might pay somebody.
Mind you, your cash flow might be a lot lower in those high expensive.
Well, that's true too.
Well,
that's true too, Dave. Yeah, you got to think about it. So I think 100 is kind of a good number. I've heard some people say it might be lower. That might be 80. Some people I've even heard say 60. And I think maybe they're just pulling in more income, and that's better. It also, an A-class property is easier to manage typically than a C-class, one that we're putting a bunch into the property and doing a bunch of unit renovations and stuff like that. So that plays into it. But I think 100 is a pretty nice round number. You can go on either side of it.
Perfect. Okay. So 100, about around 100 units, you got a full-time leasing agent, you got a full-time maintenance person, you still got your property management company.
Correct.
Managing things. So walk me through that, because in my cheap brain, I'm thinking, hey, why aren't we getting the leasing agent to do the property management? Or is that, well, obviously you got a reason that you're not doing that. And also, just out of curiosity, around that size of a complex, how busy is your leasing agent? Like, how literally, what the heck is that person doing 8 hours a day? Because I imagine they're working full time. Is it? You mentioned she could probably handle up to 140 units, but again, is there a way to make that more efficient? Because I'm just thinking, if I'm paying for a full-time person that's out there and they're not really doing the full-time work, couldn't we try to get them to do some of that property management and save yourself a crap ton of money there?
She does. Yes. And she does. She works for the property management company. But the property pays her full salary. Same with the maintenance guy. They're both employed by the property management company. We do over her. There is a regional manager, and she manages maybe 10 or 12 buildings, this being one of them. So she is our property manager. I mean, she does a lot more than leasing. For sure. Absolutely. Right. So yeah, you're absolutely right. If she was just doing leasing, we would be paying her too much for the amount of work that takes.
Yeah. Cause I was just wondering, like, on that size of a building, how many units are turning over per month, give or take?
Yeah. Maybe like 3 or 4.
Yeah. So again, you like one a week kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah. Right.
But again, it's typically all at the beginning of the month kind of thing, right?
Yep.
Okay. Very, very cool. Excellent. So between the on-site leasing agent who also does the property management. So I'm trying to get my head around that. She's working for the property management company. So is she double dipping? Are they paying her and you're paying her? Or are you paying them and they're paying her? How does that work?
Yeah, it's like they're charging us for her exact salary and then they pay her.
Got it. But then you're paying the property management company something on top of this. Is this correct?
4%. Yep, a 4% fee.
Okay, I got it. So what are they doing for their 4%? Wow, that's another fantastic idea. Hold on to that thought for a sec. We'll be right back. Now, are you a real estate investor who's run out of cash or credit to grow your portfolio? Are you looking to grow your portfolio using other people's money and raising capital? Well, I want to show you how to raise 6 figures or more in 6 weeks or less at my upcoming Investor Attraction Workshop. You can get your ticket and find out all about it at investorattractionworkshop.com. We're going to spend a full day taking a deep dive into this roadmap that I've used to raise millions for my deals, and I've helped other people just like you cumulatively raise hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for their deals as well. So again, you can check that out at investorattractionworkshop.com. And as a loyal listener to the podcast, you'll get 50% off your ticket when you use the discount code podcast. That's right. Discount code podcast at investorattractionworkshop.com. See you at the next workshop.
Good question. I mean, I think so. We pay those two salaries. We also pay the marketing and administrative costs for the property. The 4% is, I mean, part of that's their profit for sure.
Yeah, of course.
That's part of it's how they make money, right? Because everything else is going away to other people, and their expenses. So part of that's their profit, and then part of it is more the I think the regionals and some of the higher back end stuff. So, but then part of that's how they make their money.
But what I'm hearing from your side is it's just such a nice, simple solution, right? You've got everything is wrapped up into one. If that leasing agent doesn't work out, they're going to put somebody else in there. They're going to be taking care of that. So you don't have so much of the headaches involved with that.
Yep. Yeah, Dave, 100%. If you said, I want to own as few units as possible and maximize my cash flow, then don't do this model. Buy smaller stuff and manage it yourself, or go get 195 and manage it yourself and keep all that money. But what you just explained there, Dave, perfectly is like, this model is scalable. We can buy this property, plug them in. We're doing a lot of value add right now, but once we get that through that and it's settled, we're not going to spend much time on this property because we're paying someone a good amount to really do a lot of work. I mean, once we switch this model, Dave, we suddenly realized, like, I looked at my partner because he's more the asset manager. I'm more find the deals, find the money. Mm-hmm. And we were like, dude, they're regional manager. Like, that's what you do. You do that for other properties. You're a regional manager, but now this company, yes, we're paying for it, but they're doing your job. So now it's all of a sudden like, well, we can buy a lot more property then.
That's right. Now we just need to find more proproperties and get the capital to do them. And we don't have to worry about the management side.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yep.
Well, okay. So that's the beauty. So that's what I'm hearing as one of the big benefits of scaling up and to getting into these size of properties is you can have the on-site management. You can take a lot of that off your plate. Obviously, you still have to keep tabs on things and manage the managers and all that kind of stuff, but it's a lot less than hiring your own team to do all of that kind of stuff. Right. So that's a big benefit. More economies of scale, less headaches because you've got this on-site maintenance and repair person. So you don't have to do onesie twosie stuff all the time. What else have you seen as being the big benefits of getting into those deals? So obviously I'm guessing higher cash flow for you and your investors. Not necessarily percentage wise, but better, more units, you're getting better cash flow. You're getting more cash flow.
Two other things with this size, but then certain, like the property management company that we're working with now for all of our properties, they only do the bigger properties, and that's how they're set up. And so they know how to do that really well. And one thing they do, Dave, that just blows away the property management company that we used on the smaller stuff is their marketing. Their marketing, like, again, we pay that expense, but what we're getting for it is just blowing us away. And the way
what's the big difference that you're seeing in the marketing? What are they doing differently than the small guys?
They, for them, they have enough units that it makes sense to have subscriptions to the apartments.com, the rentcafe.com. I mean, they've got people that are just on Facebook or just on Google. I mean, when we came over there and they're like, look, we did research on your Facebook, your Google, your reviews. That's got to be scrubbed. We got to take care of that because, we're kind of newer owners to the property. So we got reviews from 3 or 4 years ago that have nothing to do with us. And they're like, we got to rebrand. And it's all this stuff. We're like, oh my gosh, like never even thought about all that stuff. But that's why we're paying them the marketing, because I'm not a marketer. I don't have a marketing department. Maybe we do someday, Dave, when we have, 5,000 units, but we're nowhere close to that today. So all that stuff, like now when you Google our apartment, it looks better, but also we just show up higher because they're doing all this thing. I mean, they get on apartments.com and they reach out and they, encourage the residents to give reviews. And, then all of a sudden we got reviews and now we're rating higher. And so they just drive more traffic, filling units. I mean, the number one thing you got to do to make money in multifamily is occupancy. You've got to stay full. And sure, it helps to have higher rent, and they're doing that too. I don't want to, they are getting rents that our old property manager they didn't think was possible. And now they're doing, but it all starts with this funnel, Dave. You've got to funnel people in. If you're not getting people onto your property, you're never going to rent it. And they've got a bigger, better funnel. They're just getting more people in because, it's the SEO stuff. They are able to drive people's eyes to our property.
Well, that's huge. You're definitely getting your money's worth there, my friends. That now it makes 110% sense for sure. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the good side. You mentioned briefly at the beginning, some of the pitfalls are that there's a heck of a lot more competition in this field. So now when you get up into these 100-unit type buildings, now you're starting to play with the big boys and girls and the REITs and the pension funds and all this kind of stuff. So talk to us a little bit about the downside and what you've done to deal with that.
Yeah, it's a great question and something I've been struggling with because once we got that 96 unit, that was December of last year. I was like, look, we're never buying anything less than, 90 units again. This is awesome. This is what we do. And, so that's all the deals I started looking at. And Dave, I'm telling you, we're in Southwest Ohio here. But it's not, we're not a super hot market. We're the Midwest. We're like you'd expect, but so I'm not pretending like I'm competing with REITs. I mean, they're probably 250, but we are competing with some bigger buyers, bigger, more sophisticated. And often one thing that means, Dave, is they have a lower cost of capital. So their investors, their money expects a lesser return than our investors. And that just means they can pay more for the property then. And I've seen here, Dave, like I'll look at a 150 unit property and then I'll look at an 80 unit property. And I'm telling you, Dave, everything else matches up as far as cash flow, so, hey, we've got to, pay more for this one, obviously, because it's 150, pay less for this one because it's 80. I'm telling you, the cash flow is way better for the 80 because that 150, you've got to pay like 20 grand more per unit. And I'm telling you, it's just because it's 150 units. And I think there's two things involved. One, like I said, it's different competition. It's not necessarily that more people buy 150 units. It's just the people that do, they're just looking at it differently. They're trying to preserve capital a lot of times, if that makes sense. Like, if you have a million, they
want to park it. They're not too worried about the growth. They just don't want to lose.
If you've got $1 billion, a 3% return on your money, you're making a really, really good living, right? I mean, you probably can't spend that much money. So that's fine. So real estate is a fantastic investment for really wealthy people because you park it, you probably get a very steady return. You're paying down debt. It's appreciating. All these, right? We all know this. So that money, they're just not going to buy a 70 unit, 80 unit in Cincinnati, but 150, 250. Yes, they'll do that. They want to move a certain amount of money. It doesn't make sense for them to move even just $1 million, right? Like that down payment is just not enough. They want to move 4 or 5 million, which means in this area, they're buying 150, 200 units. So the different competition. And then the other thing I would say is we just talked about all the benefits of owning. Well, the sophisticated investors, they know that. So they want those benefits too. So they're also like, yeah, we would, when they say we wouldn't buy anything less than 100 units, they mean it and they don't. So that's why they play in that sandbox because they know we want onsite. We want these big professional property management companies that I just explained to you, Dave. That's who they want to work with, and they only want to work with them. So for those reasons, they know it's easier to run. You can run them better, and so they stay there. And then they want to move a certain amount of money at a time and go for the bigger doors. So that's why they're there. And it's just
so what are you going to do moving ahead to kind of deal with that? Are you going to be open to the idea of maybe hitting that sweeter spot there of around the 80 units? It's a little bit too small for the big guys. However, it's not quite big enough for the super professional property management that you've gotten spoiled with now. So what are you guys looking to do now?
Couple things. One, yes, 80 units, 90 units, it's still enough. I mean, now that we're working with this property management, they're more open. Like they are taking on our 47 unit.
Oh, good. Okay.
And they have a 140 unit right across the street.
Got it.
So that's why, we're sharing staff with that property. And so that's a way to do that. And so it's like, okay, we still can work with them with the 40 unit stuff. Hopefully someday what I'd like to do, I'd like to be the guy that owns, okay, we own an 80 unit here. And then just down the road, we own a 40 unit. So we're going to run staff and they're going to manage both of them, right? Like we'll just have the office on the 80 unit property, but it's right down the road. So they're managing both. So yeah, that's how we're going to probably try to get creative. I'm not going to give up on 150 unit properties. That's what I want to buy, but we're definitely not crossing off the 60, 70, 80 unit properties yet. Especially if we can buy them close to where we have another one and share staff, or if we can get two of them and share staff. That's how I think we can kind of be creative.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, that's great. Well, congratulations, Lee, on making the leap, learning these lessons. Now you see, but also understanding that the competition is much more intense for these kind of properties, makes it a little bit more difficult to get them. And then more importantly, coming up with a solution that's going to work for you and your investor partners, so that you're not just crossing your fingers and hoping for these, really big deals, but you're going to be able to keep doing the medium-sized ones in the meantime, and do twofers.
Yeah.
And combine the stuff. That's smart. Excellent, Lee. If people want to find out more about you and connect with you, what should they do?
Yeah, check out our website, threefoldrei.com. That's spelled out THREEFOLDREI, as in realestateinvesting.com. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and Facebook as well, so you can look up Lee Yoder there. But we've got some good material on our website, and then you can connect with us through there.
Well, we'll have all of that in our show notes for sure. And again, Lee, thanks very much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave.
My pleasure. All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you on the next episode. Well, hey there. Thanks for tuning into the Property Profits podcast. If you like this episode, that's great. Please go ahead and subscribe on iTunes. Give us a good review. That'd be awesome. I appreciate that. And if you're looking to attract investors and raise capital for your deals, then I'm going to invite you to get a complimentary copy of my newest book, right back there. There it is. The Money Partner Formula. You can get a PDF version at investorattractionbook.com. Again, investorattractionbook.com. Take care.